What is poverty? Surprisingly, the dictionary provides two distinct definitions of poverty: the state of being inferior in quality and insufficient in amount. In the first world, the concept of poverty revolves almost entirely around the idea that to be poor is to not have enough food, enough money, enough medicine, housing, education, and so forth. Historically, to fight poverty, Americans have thrown money at the problem in the form of foreign aid. In 2016, which is the last year with full reporting, the United States sent $377 million to Haiti, $1.1 billion to Kenya, and $3.1 billion to Israel. Wherever the U.S. sees poverty, it sends money. Churches, too, tend to think of poverty as material need. Typical mission initiatives in American churches include donating money, food, and clothing to the needy, whether they are local families or nearby urban settings or even international communities. This notion of poverty as material want is not what God teaches us in Scripture. The proper Christian view of poverty should come from the proper understanding of why Jesus came to earth, namely, to bring all of humanity into closer relationship or covenant with God. Bryant L. Myers writes in his book, Walking with the Poor, Principles and Practices of Transformational Development, that mankind is in four basic types of relationships: with God, with self, with others, and with the rest of creation. This is very much like the covenant theology that we espouse in our faith. Jesus states, "The first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment, and the second is like it, is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." This from the Gospel of Mark chapter 12, verses 29 to 31. In this restating of the Shema Yisrael, Jesus states again that God desires equality in our relationships. We affirm those relationships in covenants: our baptismal covenant with God, our marriage covenant with another, and our congregational covenant that includes our worshiping family. Think of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They were in close contact with God, with each other, with themselves, and also with the garden around them, until they succumbed to sin, when their lives became defined by fractures in all of these relationships. That is real poverty. God repeated his desires in the 10 Commandments, or Aseret Chadvarim, better translated as the 10 words or 10 utterances. All 10 of the commandments define the quality of our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with creation. Those in poverty, then, will not be brought into relationship with God, or with themselves, or with others, or with creation, no matter how many hot dogs and t-shirts you give them. Poverty is the result of relationships that do not work, that are not just, that are not for life, that are not harmonious or enjoyable. Poverty is the absence of shalom in all its meanings. Poverty like that can be seen in our own communities, but to an extreme measure in Haiti. Haitians cannot define their poverty in terms of materialism because that is a foreign concept to them. They have eaten one meal every other day for years. They have experienced 50% child mortality for years. They have walked 5 miles a day for water for years. You can only know want if you have had plenty. If true poverty is rooted in broken relationships, the solution to poverty and the proper mission focus for American churches should be rooted in the power of Jesus' death and resurrection to bring them into right relationships with God, with themselves, with others, and with creation. Where is the real poverty in Haiti? In all four types of relationships, Haitians experience brokenness and isolation. In reference to God, while Roman Catholicism is the official religion of Haiti, Voodoo is the country's national religion. Most Haitians believe in and practice at least some aspects of Voodoo. Most Voodooists blend their religion with Catholicism, a practice not only tolerated but encouraged by the Catholic Church in Haiti. The belief system of Voodoo revolves around family spirits, often called Wa or Miste, who protect their progeny from misfortune. In return, families must feed the Wa or Miste through periodic rituals in which food, drink, blood sacrifice, and other gifts are offered to the spirits. When it comes to evaluating relationships among the people, there are a few trends that can't be ignored. Homicides, rapes, robberies, home invasions, and other types of violent crime are at a critical level in Haiti. Every gas station, every convenience store is attended by one or more gun-wielding security guards. In more affluent towns and cities, every private property is protected by walls and gates and razor wire. Theft of property is the number one crime, even in the most rural areas. Orphanages in Haiti are filled beyond capacity and far beyond their ability to provide for every child. Those with no access to services will give their children away as restiveks to be used by other families as slaves and for other nefarious purposes. The marriage rate in Haiti is low, with most children being born out of wedlock. It is not uncommon for a man to have several children by many different women. The country lacks the basic infrastructure to shore up family institutions. For example, any clergyman who desires to perform weddings or funerals must be licensed by the government at a cost of $1,000. This is equivalent to $43,000 in the United States economy. Ministers in Haiti receive no salary. Self-esteem in Haiti is characterized by words like shame, fear, unhappiness, depression, inferiority, and powerlessness. This is what most Haitians feel every day. Love of self comes only with a more complete understanding that we are God's children. Paul writes in his letter to the Romans, "For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together." It is only through prayer and God's Spirit that Haitians will come to value themselves as children of God and heirs of salvation. When it comes to God's creation in Haiti, it can be best described as a love-hate relationship. In rural areas, people rely on the land for sustenance. Haiti is rich in tropical flora such as bananas and plantains, coffee, sugarcane, guavas, papayas, ganifs, breadfruit, and so on. At the same time, systematic abuse of the environment persists. Waterways are polluted from lack of sanitation. The air quality is very poor from the open burning of refuse in the city, and over-reliance on charcoal as a fuel has caused a severely dangerous air quality and resulted in widespread deforestation and subsequent erosion issues. There is enough food in Haiti, but the people lack the ability to buy it. There is enough work to be done in Haiti, but there is no reliable economic or labor infrastructure. There is enough medicine in Haiti, but there is no delivery mechanism. There is enough water in Haiti, but there is no transportation to make it accessible. What Haiti has an alarming lack of, however, is righteousness. References to God are everywhere you look. Even one of the lottery outlets is called Père Éternel, or Eternal Father. Every tap-tap, every taxi and truck, and most businesses use scriptural references as a sort of branding, but the number of Haitians who have real access to means of forgiveness and grace constitutes real spiritual poverty. Massachusetts Congregational Christian churches are rallying together to bring real relief to the real poverty that exists in Bonbon, Haiti. Working with Reverend Wilbins Magenet, we are building a church in the remotest part of Bonbon, an area known as Tiplen. Pastor Wilbins was called to this ministry by God to go to this remote spot where there was no church at all and win souls for the kingdom among the people who had for centuries lived in the stranglehold and certain spiritual death of voodoo. In the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew's devastation in late 2016, our churches raised money to provide housing, food, clothing, and medicine to 100 Tiplen families. This is a well-established missionary strategy known as microfinancing. The existing church was destroyed in the October 4 and 5 hurricane, and locals were lost, swept out to sea. In August of 2017, 2 missioners mounted a mini expedition to bring tools and expertise to the village where these 100 families and many more gather weekly on the dirt under tarps for worship. The church is very active with baptisms and revival services, youth gatherings, and regular preaching. We brought tools to use and leave there and enabled the local church to become a go-to resource for building jobs in the vicinity. We provided work for a local mason and assistants and compensated the volunteer laborers with the first meals for them and their families that they had had in several days. For 6 days, the women of the village gathered to cook the food we brought in with us from Jeremy, while the men sited the foundations of the church and began excavating the ditch of the foundation. When complete, the Congregational Christian Church of Bonbon Tiplen will be 40 feet wide by 60 feet long, with an additional 170 square foot space for utility use. Work on the building has continued as money has become available. As of the fall of 2018, the foundation is finished and the block walls are at 50% of completion. The next donation will see the concrete slab completed. The walls, joists, and roof will be completed in time. The building of the church in Tiplen directly addresses the real poverty in Haiti, which is a poverty of relationships. Men from the surrounding countryside gather for the hard work and camaraderie of the task before them. They work cooperatively and excitedly on the biggest public work project that has ever been in this community. While they work, skilled masons are brought in to work with the rebar and the laying of concrete blocks. Women gather in the nearby kitchen of the church treasurer to prepare the 2 daily meals that will serve the entire village. Men and women are now, at least temporarily, wage earners who can feel good about themselves and their community. When finished, the church building will house a worshiping community, a school, a community center, a medical clinic, a shelter in times of hurricane, in short, a place that will represent faith and freedom and fellowship to a community that was once known as a place of death. Peterson Gustave is the leader of the youth ministry and a member of the church board. In that area that I live, Tiplen, people always found their happiness in whatever form was available, through drunken dance parties or cockfights. Wherever there was sin, they'd go. They practiced voodoo and performed many blood sacrifices. Before the church was established in Tiplen, the place was associated with death. Young people, adults, and children all died at an alarming rate, but, thanks to God, His eye was upon us. he revealed to Pastor Wilbins that Tiplen needed a church. Then the good news arrived. One day we had a revival service at the church, and when the church service was over and we were going home, we overheard many people asking when was Pastor Wilbins going to come and plant a church. In Tiplen, ever since the church was planted, not one person has died like they used to all the time. God has revealed to us that his hand is upon all the people because of the church. This is a phenomenon that has not gone unnoticed by the local Ganga, or voodoo witch doctor. He has stated publicly that all people should join the church so that they will live forever. While he is likely mistaken in his interpretation, he is not wrong by accident, for Paul writes in Romans, "All who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved." How can this phenomenon be explained? The natives of Tiplen eat from the same trees and livestock, drink the same water, are exposed to the same diseases as the denizens of the nearby town. How is it that mortality in this little village has plummeted? To be sure, they've had access to slightly more food and clean water owing to the introduction of aid by our mission work there. They have received a modicum of medical treatment because of our work, but surely not enough of each to make such a drastic change in local mortality. What is happening in Tiplen is a legitimate local phenomenon. The answer is clear. Proverbs 29 verse 18 states that where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. What the people of Tiplen have, that no other locals have, is a vision of hope, a vision of the future, a vision of salvation where none existed before. It began with a 3-day revival service in a clearing. It continued under tarps until they were destroyed by the hurricane. It was reborn in the efforts of strange-looking Blancs who arrived with tools and trenched out a foundation. It continues in the building of block walls, the only permanent structure in the village. It is sustained by the Holy Spirit in the regular worship that occurs there, the Sunday school classes, the baptisms, the sacraments that are held there. There is a new vision in Tiplen, and there is new life in the kingdom. How is our mission work alleviating the real poverty in Tiplen? Whenever we participate in the Christian life, we affirm their faith and their witness. We have preached and prayed. We have taught and celebrated both sacraments, baptism and communion. We have brought our witness to them, and we have brought their witness to the world. In this way, we assist in repairing a relationship with God among the people who lived in sin and sought sin only to find death. When we hire the locals for their skills or help them skill build, when we listen to the stories of the church members and even of those who continue to practice voodoo, we affirm the value of each individual there, helping them to reconnect with the unique giftedness that God has given them. When we model best practices in sanitation, energy production, engineering, we give them to heal the brokenness of God's creation. We celebrate with them the Eden-like nature of their surroundings that they have taken for granted and exploited for centuries. When we model covenant to them, by eating with them, by working with them, by worshiping side by side with them, we instill in their hearts the importance of living in covenant with all of God's kingdom, enabling them to heal the brokenness of old thinking about human relationships. This is the real and proper response to the real poverty that exists in the world. You are invited to come alongside these mission efforts, first and foremost in prayer, but also in person and in financial support of God's vision for the brothers and sisters of Tiplen.